This is sunset, about 4 o'clock, 4:30. This is the Moreton Bay fig trees framing a group of people coming to greet the audience and to begin their storytelling. Behind you see industrial buildings. Calling for a gathering, both the audience and the performers coming to celebrate a people, a land, their history, and their future. So this is a huge park-like setting. And each performer chose his or her sort of starting point. In the distance is the seeker. She's come to ask, what is Australia? Who settled in Australia? Landing on the shores of Sydney, groups of people come to greet her and tell her who they are. She greets the inhabitants, telling them about her intention, and then she brings the gift of the land from where she came from in the form of rocks. As they tell their stories, they begin to reenact their origins and evoke the spirits of their ancestors. Emerging from the footsteps of our ancestors. So all of this part, I left it up to the participants to work out how they came to Australia, what kind of relationship they did, whether it's with their parents, whether So it's a very abstract retelling of who they are. So these are different aspects of Australians and their relationship, coming, forming, helping each other, supporting each other. This whole group is libation bearers to propitiate the land, to bless their journey, to bless their new beginning. They're more mythic telling rather than realistic reincarnation. So the impetus for this part and the movement inherent in it is that when I was studying with Irmgard, she talks about the fetal shape that we all inherit. And out of that fetal shape, we learn to defend ourselves, and then from there to be able to turn, like an infant being able to turn is one part of the evolutionary process. So a lot of the movement is biological as well as ontological. Biological things like turning, squatting, running, walking, but it also have a cultural dimension, and that is this group of Australians doing it in this way. So this is a basic fertility or a movement that is common to agricultural cultures, the propitiating of the land, digging the land to make crops grow. So the musicians are spread between the audience and the performers, and sometimes they enter into them, like the one with the oboe, and then sometimes they're on the side. So this part is the dance for the men, and then later there will be a dance for the women. So much of the choreography came out of the participants. So we're exploring the dimension of the stereotype of women, and each of them took some images of, maybe Mae West, or in those days, Farrah Fawcett was the iconic woman, and they would take some dimensions of that and incorporate that into their movements. and Virgin Mary, Little Bo Peep is another one. So this is the dance of the women, and the men were doing their macho thing with the sticks and their bare-chested thumping and so forth. What is not very clear is that actually the whole thing that they're running, it's actually on a slope. And it's really, really difficult to run in circles on an angle. So the first part with the men and the women, the context for it is a fertility, a affirmation of courtship, and then so that was called the keepers of the land. This part is the destroyers of the land. And you see elements of just violence to each other, violence across the sexes, and garbage, treating people as garbage, wrapping them in plastic, and throwing them in the dump. Actually, for me, and then certainly the members of the audience afterwards came up and tell me that they were so affected by the plastic over the performers' faces because they really feel like they were suffocating too. And that was the whole idea. We are being suffocated in plastic. So this is the kind of leader of the destroyers of the land coming with the plastic bags and debris, the detritus of the industrial factories. Whatever we used for our props, they were all totally either created by the performers, or some of them sometimes were found on site, and they became part of the narrative. Like those grills, they suddenly became masks, very common object of destruction. in order to work in this vast space, and then in order not to break and have a narrative, it's very much like when the garbologists were disintegrating and they start to fade, then another part of the narrative came up with this girl who is iconically Australian on the Australian beach in Sydney, and this Anglo-Saxon symbol, feminine symbol. And I particularly chose her for her balletic quality, her long limbs, her Anglo-Saxonness, as all I can remember, say about it. Because I'm using such a large space, at any given moment, there are several narratives going on at the same time. So you can see actually this husband and wife were already doing their narrative as the girl who was on the beach with the yellow towel was doing hers. And then there's a third group in the background doing their kind of corps de ballet movement. And anytime for the audience, you can choose to look at the setting sun, the musicians, one group of performer, other group of performer, or watch the audience. It's not about a proscenium stage. Early on with the couple, it's the establishment, the early settlers who have established, the Anglo-Saxons that established themselves in Australia. Here is a traditional ribbon dance from Asia, and the performer is very clearly Asian origin, and it's the dimension of new immigrants trying to come in. Finding a way to affirm their own culture and at the same time adapt to this very Anglo-Saxon new world. So much of this, I gave the general parameter of what I'm trying to explore, and I let the performer, in this case Kai Tai, to make it his own experience coming from Malaysia to Australia, the trying to adapt to the new place, the slippery slope, so to speak, and falling and not being accepted, to shine, to thrive. So this is the figure of the seeker who came to say, "Who are you, Australia?" And these groups tell her, "We are the new immigrants, we're the settlers, we came here first." And here the new immigrant is trying to do an Irish jig and didn't know how does it go, and how do you make it your own. Kai Tai actually was the artistic director of the One Extra dance group, and it was his invitation to create this work and use many of the performers who had worked with him. He was actually came to Australia to be an engineer. Group came from Irish, British, Italian, Greek, all the immigrants that make up much of the immigration of Australia. In a little while, I also invited the Aborigines to teach us about the lessons of the land. It's very much about creating a new cohesion by people from all kinds of backgrounds. In that way, it's very much like any new world, whether it's New World in America, New World in South America, New World in Australia. It's the unknown and the strength and heritage that you bring and the wisdom that you bring to a new land to adapt. So here are the Aborigines, the original Australian inhabitants, and they have come to teach everyone the dances that they have found. So for the Aborigines, the dance is only what the land tells them, what the land moves them, what the land gives them the sound. The second day is Saturday, and it happens, the audience is outside the Sydney Opera House sitting in a circle where they can look at the roof of the opera house. The ritual renewal in Taoism, the symbolic bird is crane. Crane is the bird of longevity. In European American, of course, crane, it's not crane, it's the stork. But a similar bird with a beak brings the baby. So I think cultures revere that as a bird of longevity, good fortune, and long life, and good things. So I wanted the bird shape. I don't know how to do it, so we did paper maches, and suddenly we were able to do a bird about 3 feet from the head. And then in order for the bird to sit on us, we have to make like a sombrero. And then I didn't want people to then see a face, so we put very shimmery and light, transparent, like silk, so people can see some glimmer. This is trying to, film in the dark. But we have glow sticks that we make pattern in space, and then flashlights in the headpiece of the crane. Sunday, from the Sydney Opera House, we had a procession, and we returned to the very place we started, which is the Observatory Hill. This final event will be a celebratory dance of renewal and returning the spirits that have been evoked to their rightful places. Renewal, Phoenix and Crane. I just told everyone within my site, go out and bring 10 people. So every performer went out and got 10 people, and then I said, please have them come in whatever form that they like. Bring whatever instrument, and those people who were part of the choreographic process, those who performed on Friday and Saturday, they had these access to these birds, which are rosellas, like they're native to Australia, and I rely greatly on Colin Alford, who is there, and Kai Yin and Kai Tai, to be sort of the elders. And basically, from then on, I gave this ritual back to the participants, and it is for them to carry on in whatever way they see that their hearts take them or their energies take them. And one of the things any kind of renewal involves the cessation of the old. You can't renew if you cling on to the old. And so I invited people, whatever they want symbolically, to discard, to say, this is no more, then they should do that. And that's Colin, and he burned part of his artistic, he wanted to start a new phase, and he initiated it. So people brought fruit, flowers, offerings. This is But most of them, fortunately, oh, this is the gamelan. It's called the Tupperware gamelan. So it's a Tupperware with a battery and a sona pitch, and when you swing it, it creates these unearthly sound. Here I am giving. Basically, I'm going to self-destruct. I've done my work. I'm taking leave from all the people I have worked with, thanking them for blessing me, and then retreating and giving this whole, this invitation to whoever would step up to receive it. And in this case, it was Kai Tai Chan, the artistic director of the One Extra Dance Group. And there's Ronaldo, one of the elders. There's Reese, she's always game for some. She's a very, very charismatic performer and very multi-talented. Visual artist, musician. There are all these phenomenal shapes that each of them found, you know, to give voice to their being. Sometimes they look like they're some kind of giant python,